time to introduce our speakers, and we are delighted to have Dr. Audrey Martin from TUD and Helen Cullen from Maynooth University with us today. So we'll take it. We'll start off with Helen. We'll start with Audrey. Sorry, Audrey. So we just like to welcome you and you can get started with your presentation. And with this webinar series, we always allow the presenters to introduce themselves. They know everything best and way better than I do. So Audrey, you can take the floor there, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Marion. I'm going to share my screen because I have a couple of slides that hopefully you will all be able to see now in a minute. If I can get into this there. So hopefully that this is visible to you. So just an overview of what I'm going to talk about is how I got into geospatial surveying, and then just an overview of my career journey to date, and then just looking at survey education, which is my main area of expertise as I lecture in TU Dublin, and then career opportunities. Just a short final slide on that. So just to go over sort of my background, first of all. So my expectation really was, of geospatial surveying. I had none. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest. The reality was that one of my older brothers, I have 4 brothers, and my eldest brother had decided to study geosurveying, as it was called back in the day, in Bolton Street. And I was still in school, and I just remember him being in the converted attic with a big drawing board, listening to very loud music and drawing up plans. And I thought, that sounds like a nice way to go to college. If that's what college is, I could do that. But also then, my skill set in school, really, I was a bit of an all-rounder. I could do a bit of everything. And I did do geography. I liked geography. I liked maths. I was good with numbers and science and an outdoorsy sort of person. But I remember at the time my brother saying to me, I don't think this is for you. I don't think you're going to like it, And my backup plan was maybe do business and German. So I was all over the place. So when so my career, or my academic path, if you like, I went to an all girls school, an old convent school, so very traditional. There was physics and subjects like that, but we weren't really exposed to the whole technical area, and it was a long time ago as well. So when I finished school, I really didn't know what to do. I did have a place in college for business and German, but I had done German in school, and I just decided I'll take a year out and think about it. And I went off to Germany for a year as an au pair. So something totally unrelated. And while I was away, I decided, no, I do want to do geosurveying. I want to give it a go. And I came back and I did the diploma. It was a 3-year diploma in geosurveying in Bolton Street. It's a picture of Bolton Street there. It hasn't changed much, that part of it anyway, in the intervening years. And when I finished my degree, I was diploma at the time in Bolton Street, it was the late 80s. There was no jobs in Ireland. My entire class emigrated. And I think the majority of them went to the UK because language, obviously. I think one went to the States, and I went to Germany. I went back to Germany just because I had a connection there, and I had managed to secure a job there. So I went straight into a German surveying company. And whilst I was working there, and I decided I wasn't sure if this outdoor site work was for me, and I worked there for a year or so, but I went back to college in Germany. And it was the beginning of the Erasmus sort of links. And my old lecturer here in TU Dublin, DIT, had set up a connection with Oldenburg in Germany. So I went on to their surveying engineering degree, and I went into the final 2 years. It was like a BSc master's rolled into one. And I did the final 2 years of that program up in northern Germany. Place I had never been to, didn't even know where it was when I was getting the train up there. But I went back to college and just thought, yeah, a little bit more education might be the thing to do. And I came back in the final 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, I came back to Ireland, and I was doing some part-time lecturing while I was finishing my final dissertation for Germany. And I was teaching basically in DIT. So I did, at the time then, I did a 2-year part-time higher education diploma. And then in terms of education, I thought when I was going for a full-time job in TU Dublin, I thought, well, I want to make sure that they can never ask me for more. So I thought I'll just go straight off and do a PhD. And I managed to secure a PhD position with UCD in the Department of Engineering. And it was sponsored by Cullen, and you can see a lot of GPS survey equipment set up there. The old survey equipment is what I had to lug around the mountains down in Cork, and I really was looking at geospatial technologies, GPS and GIS, within timber haulage routing strategies for Cuilche that would be gentle on the environment, so causing less environmental impact, really. So that was my academic journey. I've done other courses in between, but that's where I started and how far I've gone in it. But just looking at my work and professional background then, so as I mentioned, when I finished my diploma in Ireland, I went and worked in Frankfurt for a year with a survey company, and there's a picture of me there on one of the sites I was site engineer for. It was a big construction project, Deutsche Bank, and this was in the foundations before the first pour. So it was a huge, vast site. It was really, really formative in the experience I got over there. Came back to Ireland, did part-time lecturing, and I was a researcher between 92 and 96 in DIT. And then during that time, I also set up my own little business on the side, if you like, doing GPS consultancy. And I was also had a company where I was doing, well, I had a company, it was me basically, and I got a helper, and it was really doing mapping for court where there was traffic incidents. So I'd be out on a Sunday morning at 5 o'clock doing the maps of where collisions had been for the court, the images for the courts. I was made a full-time lecturer and then a senior lecturer. But during that time, I also was a member of the IIS, the Irish Institution of Surveyors. I went on to become a member of the Chartered Institute or Society of Chartered Surveyors and the chair of that group, and on various boards. And I'm currently the academic delegate for Euro SDR, and the SDR stands for Spatial Data Research, which is a fantastic organization. And if any of you are involved in geospatial surveying, look up the Euro SDR website, because they provide online learning programs in things like advanced LiDAR mapping and Earth observation, and really fantastic organization. It links all of the national mapping agencies across Europe with an academic institution in the country, and we meet twice a year. So it's a really, really good organization. So that's really my background, and where I am at the moment. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Surveying and Construction Innovation. I chair the undergraduate degree in geospatial surveying. I have chaired the Masters in Geospatial Engineering in the past and developed that program, and just developed a new program, which I'm going to talk about. It's a higher certificate in geospatial surveying, and I manage the Erasmus basically the Erasmus agreements and students within the school. So it all sort of comes back around in circles. You know, I was Erasmus myself. I was the guinea pig back in the early 90s, and now I help students get there themselves. So just looking at geospatial survey education in Ireland, and I'm going to focus really on the Republic of Ireland here. So TU Dublin used to be called DIT, and the Geospatial Surveying Diploma has been going since 1967. So the diploma was a 4-year diploma, then it became a 3-year diploma in 76, and that was a 2-year certificate and an add-on 1-year diploma. And then in 1999, and I was here at the time, we developed that 3-year diploma back into an honours degree, so a 4-year BSc, and it was called Geomatics. And there's been various changes over the years in terms of naming of the program, and each of those changes were really designed to try and attract more students onto the program rather than fundamentally changing the program. But the program itself, of course, has changed with the times, you know, and we would say that our focus is really on these 3 M's. We have management, which would be land administration, governance, land and marine management. We have modelling, GIS, building information modelling, and then we also have land and measurement, which is the area I'm primarily involved in, with land and geodetic surveying, aerial surveying, photogrammetry, remote sensing. So those three M's, and they're underpinned then by maths, IT, professional development, and those types of subjects. So that really hasn't changed in the years. Subjects come and go, and you know, we're very automated and all the rest now, but the core is still the same. So that was the past. Unfortunately, the numbers on our programs have diminished over time. So this is the current situation of geospatial education in the Republic at the moment. So in Cork, there is a level 5 QQI award, and it's a one-year award down in Cork College of Further Education. And that's been very successful. It's run now for the last year or 2 years. And I know you'll see a lot of stuff on that on LinkedIn. So really, I don't know the Ella Motherwell Daly is the lady who runs it, but very passionate about it, and they have a strong links with Murphy Geospatial Company. In TU Dublin, we have our level 8, and which is the honours degree, but there's also an early exit after 3 years, which would be a level 7 ordinary degree. And that program is run in full-time and part-time mode, and a 4-year program for full-time, 5-year for part-time. But as I mentioned already, the numbers have diminished over the previous years. So unfortunately, last year, the university have indicated that the program needed to be paused because there's insufficient students coming onto the program. So that's where we're at the moment in there. But we also have in the Republic have a number of level 9. So this would be a master's level programs. So there's the GI Science Masters in TU Dublin at full and part-time mode. There's GIS and remote sensing in Maynooth University. There's Geoinformatics in Cork University. So all of these level 9 programs really are aimed at converting people into geospatial experts in a particular discipline. So we're well covered at the level 9 area, and there could be other level 9s that I'm not aware of. I know there was other one in Maynooth, and there's a program in Trinity called Geosciences, but it's more aimed at geology, that type of geoscience. So that's the current status. So this level 7, level 8 is being phased out in TU Dublin. So the future of education, and this is significant, hopefully, for you who are listening. So TU Dublin have developed a new 2-year program, a level 6 on the National Qualification Framework, and it's in geospatial surveying. So it will be an apprenticeship program. So this is a new departure. Because we cannot attract students in through the CAO, we've gone a different route. So in liaison with industry, myself and a colleague, Eugene Nicolai, have developed this new national apprenticeship program. TU Dublin will run it. It will be advertised nationally. It'll be available. The earliest it can be available will be January next year, but probably it'll start in September. And that's because it's gone through all the processes here in TU Dublin, but it now goes to the National Apprenticeship Office, SOLAS, and they have to register companies and make sure that they're able to fulfill their requirements. So this is a really important departure. And what's important is that students coming onto it will be employed by companies. And something that's really important to note here is that we have strong support from surveying companies, and in particular, the Tailteann Éireann, which is the Ordnance Survey Office, the new name of that, they are committed to sending 10 to 12 students onto this. And they are going to recruit specifically onto this program. So that will be coming out soon from the Ordnance Survey, and it's really important, which means they pay your fees. You come to college 1 day a week during term time over 2 years, and the other 4 days you spend in work. Okay. So the current degree that we have, level 7, level 8, has to be redeveloped. And we're actually meeting this week to talk about how we can build on this 2-year program. So that's the next stage. There's also a new level 9 MSc in TU Dublin. It's actually a redesigned geospatial engineering degree, but now it includes also data management. It's a 1-year full-time, 2-year part-time degree, and this will start in September this year. And this has been basically redeveloped because of the lack of graduates in this space. And also a lot of the subjects that we teach, they're really important subjects like, let's say, drone mapping and things like that. And each of those subjects can be delivered as a micro credential. So students can come onto just one module of the program. So just looking at those 2 programs in more detail, this is the apprenticeship program. And you can see there's 2 years, 2 semesters. So semester 1 would begin in September, semester 2 would begin the end of January. And these are the subjects that will be taught. So that will be on one day in the first year, and this will be taught on one day in the second year, and then down here. So this apprenticeship program is really focusing on the measurement side of those 3 M's. The measurement technology, and because this is what companies had said that they need most. So we are going to develop students' skills to be able to map and to do a mapping project from start to finish, survey out in a greenfield site, produce a plan at the end of it, but also for setting out and engineering out on site, where you're given the plans and you go out and you have to set out on site. And in that, we'll use all of the top level equipment, but we'll also look at reality capture, which is photogrammetry, which is using photography. We'll look at fundamentals of land law, a bit of project management, professional developments built in there, and there will be a lot of CAD work. So students will have a wide range of skills at the end of that. And then half of the learning is done with college, and half of the learning is done in the workplace. And anybody who wants more information on that can contact me directly. Okay, so that's the apprenticeship program, the new apprenticeship program, which will begin, the earliest, as I said, is January. We were aiming for January, but it depends on how long it takes Solus to go through the process of accrediting all of the companies. But the latest it would start would be September, in 12 months. And then this is the Masters in Geospatial Engineering and Data Management. So for those of you who are already involved in geospatial surveying, you might be interested in this program. And this program, these are the individual modules. So typically, you'd have a 2-hour lecture, maybe a 1-hour tutorial for each of those modules. And you can see we have scan to BIM, reality capture, Earth observation, the Internet of Things, analysis for smart cities. And then we also have options, and these are the options down at the bottom here. So thinking of the future, machine learning, which is just an element of AI, advanced analytics, drone remote sensing. All of those are individual modules, and they can be taken as a separate module in their own right. So if you wanted to upskill in a particular area, that's important. So that is, the moment, is being managed by my colleague Emer McNerney, and any information about the course you can direct towards Emer. All of our email addresses are first name and then family name at tudublin.ie. And I think it's important as well just to note that this particular program, there hopefully will be an announcement soon. I believe it's got trying to remember the name, funding from the government. I can't remember the name of it now, but you may be able to avail of a funded position onto this. Springboard. That's
Springboard. I was just going to say that, Audrey.
My head has gone blank. Yeah, Springboard. So just to keep an eye on that, there will be it will be launched, I believe, next week officially. So just to finish up on this last slide, it's just looking at some career opportunities, and So the career opportunities are the standard, you know, if you think of survey companies, engineering companies, hydrographic companies are huge. This whole area of the blue economy. Hydrographic companies have been coming to our students in third year for the past number of years, and mainly coming over from Scotland, from Aberdeen, because Irish students are seen as gold dust in this industry. Because we're part of the EU and our special relationship with the UK, we don't require visas to work across EU waters, which most UK employees do. So Irish graduates, I should say, are really, really highly sought after, and they would take every one of our graduates if they could. So we have students doing placements over there, and so that's just something to be aware of. There's also public companies, and by that I mean places like Táilte Éireann and that, who have a big need for surveying skills at all levels. And something that people may not think about, but increasingly a lot of our graduates from the undergraduate program are going into the service providers. And when I say service providers, these are the companies that provide equipment to engineering companies, to survey companies, but they also provide training. So you have the likes of Corec, who provide Trimble equipment, you have LES and SIS, who provide, that's leveling equipment services and survey instrument services. They tend to provide Leica equipment. And then you have also Topcon Ireland, who provide Topcon equipment. Each of those companies have big training sections, and our students are coming straight out of college and going into those positions and acting as training officers, going around the country, teaching engineers and other professionals on how to use equipment and how to do surveys, because there isn't enough surveyors out there. So that's a niche area that people are becoming more aware of, because they tend to pay well. You get a car, you'll get a computer, you'll get all of that sort of stuff. But there's also a current lack of qualified geospatial graduates internationally, and this is from America over to Australia. I just had an email yesterday from a student in Australia asking if I know anybody interested in mining. He could give me the salary and all the rest. You are internationally valuable. You know, first of all, you speak English, which is the international language. And if you do any of the masters that I've mentioned, or the degree courses, they're all validated and accredited by the Society of Chartered Surveyors. So you can become a chartered surveyor, which is internationally recognized. So I mentioned already also that Táilte Éireann and others will be recruiting directly onto the new apprenticeship program. Apprenticeship program is not just aimed at people coming straight from school. It can be somebody in employment already. Okay, so the company have to commit to sending the person onto the apprenticeship program, which will be 1 day a week. It'll be based out of TU Dublin, and that's during term time over 2 years. So while you're working, you're getting a 2-year level 6 qualification, which would enable you to go on to a level 7 or a level 8 somewhere in the country, if not in TU Dublin. So I mentioned already as well about the 3 M's, you know, and the future geospatial surveyors really need to be more than just the surveyor on site or in the office. They have to be data managers. You know, we place a lot of focus on things like spatial databases, and we have this whole area of GeoBIM or spatial data analysis, you know, and in the measurement side of things, our tools and technology have become fairly simplified. They're very, very highly complex and require a lot of background information to use them correctly. But we have a lot of people using them and don't know an awful lot about the background. So that's why the master's program, some of the modules on that are very valuable, in my opinion. So that's really it. That's the synopsis of where I've come from and what I do, and hopefully the opportunities that are open to you in geospatial survey education. I'm really happy to answer any questions either later on this or else in an email if you want to send it to me. It's audrey.martin@tud.ie, tudublin.ie. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Audrey. It's a couple of observations that I have anyway. I also, anyone who has any questions, please pop them into the chat. But you know, the journey down the apprenticeship route, I'm fairly familiar with that, in terms of, say, software development and how that works. And as you say, it can be for somebody starting off after school, or it can be for somebody who's already working away and they want to just add on skills. I know for those who are kind of coming out of school, it's the whole fact of some aren't ready for full-on degree and they want to just take a more of a sample, and you know, they want to get ready for work or they want to start, and it's a great way because it's that kind of earn as you learn um thing, you know, where you can, as you say, you're in college for 1 or 2 days a week and you're with an employer, and it's a long, it's a sort of you come out of it, I suppose, really with all of that experience. So you have a lot of experience in already, which if you where people can decide then to maybe go on and finish their degree or masters, but they already have quite a bit of experience and knowledge, and even just how businesses work and that kind of side. There's an awful lot of that, particularly even in, as you were saying, with some of the organizations, there's already extra training as well. So yeah, it is a great option for people, I think, school or otherwise, if they want to get
Yeah, I
into
think, you know,
that side.
college is becoming also, you know, financially very difficult for people because of accommodation costs and all the rest. So people talk about the college experience. It's not quite what it might have been in the
No,
past, because a lot of students are traveling long distances and they can't avail of things that might be going on, you know. So and well, also we find it very hard to promote our discipline. What are we? You know, we're many things, and we're often the invisible people in the room. So it's very hard to excite people. Which is probably what Helen's going to do, but it is very hard. So, you know, trying to get a different option, different route into the profession. Once you're in the profession, there are huge amounts of opportunities, you know, nationally, internationally. And yeah, well, I've been, and I have to say something as well. So this is what's really, I find quite amazing, is we have very few in the past, very few females on our program. But if you look at our profile of staff, we have actually now more female staff than we have male staff. And I think the women tend to go far, whether it's just our tenacity or, you know, I don't know what it is, but I think there is great opportunities for both men and women in this profession. It used to, in the past, maybe it was seen as a man's world or whatever, you know. Certainly when I was on that building site in Germany, there was 400 men and there was me. And I just thought, God, this is a bit different, you know.
I know. Actually,
But yeah.
that's sorry to interrupt you there, Audrey, but that's actually a valid point. Just before I forget my train of thought there, we did a Women in Geospatial Irish chapter had a survey last year, you know, in the geospatial industry in general, on women and how they felt about the industry, and you know, where they felt there may be struggles or gaps and stuff like that. But the on the in general, there was quite a positive feeling in terms of gender balance in the industry. But the one area that had much more concern was the surveying side
Mm,
in
yeah.
particular. And I think like that, I think it was just slightly less lack. There was a lack of representation, particularly I think at senior level in the industry, and that was, you know, and I know that some of the companies, surveying companies, would even sort of admit that and say, well, not even admit it, just to actually say it, yes, we're looking for women to be represented in senior roles and board roles, etc. But you know, that's going to take quite a while, because you know, they don't just
Yeah.
fall from the sky.
Yeah.
Like, you have to develop. So there is definitely a little bit of a, I suppose, a gap there between the expectation and the role models, and getting women
Yeah.
into more senior roles and building it. But
Yeah.
my main concern there would be, as you're saying, you know, why do you think numbers are falling in terms of the take up of
The program. I
Yeah.
think it's a combination of different. I was at a meeting 2 weeks ago over in Birmingham, and it was the same. They're having the same problem in the UK. They've closed programs in the UK, in Newcastle, in Nottingham, and the UK is. I think there's one program left that does geospatial. That's a population of 60, 70 or million. So, and they brought everybody together, and they're looking at the same thing. I think I was saying our experiences in Ireland have been, and we've done multiple things to try and increase the membership. We've done schools outreach, but I think it's a combination. I think, first of all, an awful lot of students coming out of school don't know what they're going to do and are selecting generic degrees. So business or science. Engineering is seen as a bit more generic as well, because they can specialize. For a lot of our students, they don't see the degree as the end product. They're going on to do a master's, so they think that I might specialize at master's level. So I think that's one reason. I think another one is that students aren't. When I was in college with the idea of I'll have to get a job after this, and this will get me a job or whatever. But our degrees, students aren't necessarily focusing on a particular job, because jobs are changing all the time. So they don't look specifically at a niche area. We are niche, we're small, we're hard to describe ourselves. We're not good at marketing ourselves, even though we think we're really great and all the equipment we use and everything. We're sort of, certainly in the college here, we're almost like, in our school, we're a bit like the nerds in the corner, because the others are involved in property surveying or quantity surveying. Something that was done really well for quantity surveying was Dermot Bannon. He had a female quantity surveyor on site, and I think that made a huge difference. Every mammy and daddy was sitting down on Sunday evening watching whatever it was called, your
Room to improve. Yeah.
That's it. And he had a really great female advocate for quantity surveying. And now there's a second one. And the numbers of female students in that area have increased.
Brilliant.
So I think we have to be visible.
Yes,
we're not visible.
This is what we're trying to do with women in geospatial. It's the visibility, because there's a huge amount of women involved in the industry, as you said, between Cork and all the other Murphy surveys, and all of those. Everyone is trying. All the companies are trying to increase, the skill set, their skill set, the women in their businesses, to make sure that it's a balance. But it's just, how do we all do it together? I suppose that's it.
Yeah. Well, this is a great initiative, So
hopefully we'll have a few more then. And definitely, and the micro credentials as well. I really like the sound of that, because like that, if you have the qualification or you already have your master's, something new pops up, you want to look at it, you can just do the micro credential. So it's great. Yeah.
And that's something you can build on, because you'll get credits for it. So,
that's right, you get credits. And as I said, it's often some of these things may be springboard, it may not be springboard, funded or reduced funded. Well, thank you very much, Audrey. If questions pop in, we'll get them at the end. But great overview. Maybe I'll be in. I think I might be a bit long in the tooth for an apprenticeship, but you never know.
Never too old.
Never too old. Okay, well, thank you very much. And Helen, can we have you up next, please?
Sure. I'll just share this now. Give me one sec. Okay, can you see my slides there?
Yes, indeed, we can.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks very much, Marion, for inviting me today to speak about our project. And thanks, Audrey, that was very insightful on the education end of becoming a surveyor. I myself, before I get into the project, I'll just give you a little background on myself. So I've been a geomatics land surveyor for the past 28 years. I went to Bolton Street in the mid-90s. Audrey was one of my lecturers at the time. And I suppose just actually hearing about the apprenticeship there, another reason why this is really great to hear that it's happening is like college actually just really wasn't for me back then. It didn't suit me. I didn't like having to work off my own back, and So I opted out after the 2 years and started work immediately. And unlike college, working really suited me, and site work in particular. So I worked on site pretty much for 28 years. And the first 8 years after Bolton Street, I worked with lots of different companies. I worked with GPS Surveying in Cork. We were the first company setting up control networks for all the county councils around the country, carrying GPS units that were nearly heavier than myself at the time. They were so outdated. But I got loads of experience with them, and then I went to work for Paul Corrigan's as well, and worked for him for a good few years on different motorway projects, worked on the Lewis, lots of different work. But then I suppose the boom years started happening, and anyone over the age of 40 knows that it was time to make hay if you were in the construction business. So I set up on my own in 2005, and there was plenty of work to go around. And you know, it worked really well timing wise in my personal life, because at this stage I didn't have any children, and I had lots of time to spend out. My work mostly involved working with developers, engineers, architects, and then also just Joe Soaps, I suppose, individuals as well. A lot of my work would be greenfield topographic surveys, building surveys, groundwork, setting out, and I do a lot of land dredge mapping for you know, disputes and ownership and stuff like that. So I worked at that for a good few years, having my kids in between. And then when COVID hit and work stopped for a few years, I suppose I had a bit of a rethink about what I wanted to do. Did I want to go back to this, you know, this straightforward surveying that I had been doing? I had done a certificate in GIS back in the early 2000s in Bolton Street, actually. And you know, I did really find it interesting at the time, but I never did anything else with it. So I decided to go and do the master's degree in Maynooth in GIS and remote sensing. And it was a really good fit for me, because I suppose it brought me up to date on all the remote sensing element of surveying that, you know, I hadn't moved into at all in my job. And then, you know, I got a reintroduction to GIS 20 years later from when I did the certificate, and obviously things have moved on a lot since then. And I suppose most importantly as well, it got me away from my 3 teenagers, which was really good. So the last module of the master's degree, you have to do a 6-week work placement, and I was kind of at a different stage in my career than, you know, the rest of the students in my class. A lot of them were going to work for Helen and different companies like that. So I managed to persuade Dr. Conor Cahalane, who runs 5S, to let me do my placement with him in the geography department. So this was really great timing for me, I suppose, because my predecessor had just left, and I managed to land a full-time role then in 5S with Conor. And then also, you know, being employed in the geography department, I was able to help out with lecturing. So I'm teaching GIS now to the undergraduates as well. And, you know, this is something completely new to me that I absolutely love. I love being around young people, and it has really ignited, you know, in me a whole other element of a career that I never thought I would do. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I still dip in and out of surveying, but I'm mostly working on the 5S project and also the lecturing in Maynooth as well. So just to fill you in on the 5S project, so the 5 is because we have 5 different partners involved. We TU Dublin, Esri, which is ArcGIS for schools, Tolcha Éireann, and the Chartered Surveyors. And it's funded by Research Ireland, which was previously SFI, and Isero as well. So it came about, well, obviously before I started work there in 2020, and I suppose it was born out of an obvious gap in skill sets at the time. due to kind of a drop in geo courses across the board, which, you know, Audrey has mentioned as well. So like, where were the industry companies going to find staff with appropriate skill sets that they needed? Geography was also taken out at second level as a core junior cert subject, which wasn't ideal. So that was reducing numbers, potentially, you know, having an interest at third level. So there was kind of a gap in what teachers, they were lacking in knowledge and resources. So the gap was widening up, I suppose, at second level. And this is where the idea for it came. So the SFI Discover program, back then it was it's now tied to Erin. So what's the aim of this award is to get students interested in STEM, get students who wouldn't normally engage, that's girls, you know, mostly from underprivileged areas, to get them interested in thinking like scientists, provide information on careers for them, and to train the teachers to deliver STEM education as well. So, you know, for me, this is really important. Like most of you, you know, being a female working in a male-dominated area, on construction sites for the past 20 odd years. And, you know, I find when I go into schools, it's not even on a lot of the girls' wavelengths that they can do something like this. You're really, you know, they really need somebody to tell them you're able to do this, you know. And I think getting in at second level, possibly, Audrey, you know, this program will help, you know, the second level students think about going forward. Well, hopefully that's the whole point of it. But if we can get them interested at second level, then you can take them on to third level then as well. So when we got started out, we already had a platform in ArcGIS. Esri, as you know, probably it's a commercial company. ArcGIS Online, it's free and easy to use for all schools in Ireland. There's no need to have, you know, a really tech savvy teacher or IT to get involved in the school. It's just a web page students get access to, and so that, you know, really just once they have a computer room and good Wi-Fi, that's all that's kind of needed. The content was decided upon using the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's what students are interested in. They're interested in climate and sustainability, and then we geospatial data themes, and you know, these give access to a lot of open data that's needed for the 5S program. So as I mentioned, initially we had 5 partner volunteers: Maynooth, TU Dublin, Esri, OS Ireland, which is now told to Erin, and the Society of Chartered Surveyors. So these, this was all volunteers, and there was no buyout once they were committed, and so they had to average 2 days a month work on 5S for us. So phase 1 ran for the first 2 years, but it, you know, it coincided with the start of COVID, which wasn't ideal. It was supposed to be all in person, so from the off it had to go online. And they started with third years. Before they had made leaving cert choices, they decided, you know, whether they were going to do geography or science. Third years was a good option to get in to them. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, it ended up having to be a remote class, but what we did with them was we created the story map content, interactive lesson plans based on the geography and science learning outcomes for junior cycle. And then they were kind of tailored depending on class durations and what kind of computer setup the school had. And we also had an app called Satellite Skills, and it's an augmented reality app. So there was just one workshop, and the students went through the app and ArcGIS Online story maps as well. Sorry. So what did we achieve in phase 1? Well, we got good numbers, 19,000 students, but it was all online. 180 student teachers, and that's with the hope that then they bring it on into schools themselves. Practicing teachers, we got 75 at workshops. We got 90 geo mentors trained, so that would be across industry partners. They got to 22 counties online, and at government level, 5S was shared as an example case for national reporting to the UN. So basically to say, you know, what we were doing to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and 5S was used as that. So success for a Discover Award is you're supposed to enthuse, inform and support underrepresented groups, but this is really difficult to evaluate. So there's a few figures there from our first phase where 77% of teachers had never received any STEM outreach before. But their confidence, having done 5S workshops, went from 2.2 out of 5 up to 3.8. So that's a big jump. And then 98% of teachers said that they would use it again in their teaching. So they could all see the benefit of the programme. Unfortunately, though, we couldn't ask the students directly, but teachers suggested that the students benefited from GIS, and that went from 4.25 up to 5. So student engagement was also better after they had had their workshop. But there were a few struggles with phase 1. Teachers getting time to train them, CPD hours, they don't get time in lieu. Geo mentors, they were great at getting trained in, but then didn't really have volunteer time. We weren't sure about the age cohort we were targeting. Obviously, it's a very technical subject, spatial data, satellite data, and you know, we were afraid that a lot of it was going over their head. This may have been because of the fact that it was online and not in person. Student engagement. So we weren't sure, you know, when we walked out of the classroom if they were ever going to look at their ArcGIS online accounts again. And then we only had the teacher's opinion on how the student did, and not what the student themselves actually thought. So heading into phase 2 in 2023, this is when I came on board. It all went to in person. We got Tier 3 ethics approval here in Maynooth, so we were now able to ask the students' opinion directly on what they thought of the workshop. We decided to do 3 workshops so as to, you know, really hammer home what we were trying to teach them. And we decided to increase the age up to the transition year students instead of 3rd year. So they're a year older, but also they have a much more open calendar that they need to fill with workshops and stuff. So we thought this was a good idea. So we got 5 different industry partners involved from the outset as well. You can see all our industry partner logos there, and we've 9 now altogether. We're hoping to increase on that again this year. And then we did a lot of work on our app, and there's now a teacher mode available in our app, which is great for teachers when we're not there for them to use it. So I'm just going to briefly run through what the workshops are. So we've 3 workshops. The first one is our Satellite Skills Reality app. The second one is ArcGIS Online. And the third one is Story Mapping. So the first one, the app, is great because, as we know, all these students are very, you know, they have phone in their hand all the time. I have teenagers myself, and I can't get them to put them down at all. So, you know, when I go into school, I often hear, oh, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is too complicated for me, because it's satellite data and spatial data. That's all they hear. But as soon as they get into doing the app, they realize they're actually, you know, well able to do it. I'm just going to play this little video here of the start of the app here. I'll just see if I can take the volume down though. So basically this is where they log in on the app to their ArcGIS Online account, and as they go through the different challenges, there's 9 challenges, data layers get locked into their ArcGIS Online account. This here, the geography and science bracket you can see, that's for teachers that can use the app themselves. They can select which subject they teach, and then as they go through the challenges, they're prompted with different discussions to have with their class based on the learning outcomes of either geography or science. So this is me using the map at home and just setting an area to do it. And you can see it's all augmented reality, so it's very interactive. This is just the first challenge that they work on. As the students go through it, there's different light bulbs they can click on, and it gives them additional information, data did you knows on the spatial data that they're looking at, and tells them about it. So this is really for the student that's, you know, extra interested, I suppose. It's easiest for us to teach them about spatial data initially by, you know, using their snap maps, which is the little logo you see there on the left. And then they work their way through the different challenges. This is one of the prompts for teachers there, for a geography teacher, if they want to open up a discussion. So you can use the app yourself if you want to download it. It's downloadable for free on Apple and Android, and it's called Satellite Skills, and the last S is the digit 5. This image on the right, these were 5 of my testers, 2 of which are mine, and I was getting them to test some new features for us. So yeah, it's really, really good. So the second workshop then we do, they open up their ArcGIS online accounts, and they have all the different data layers that they've kind of been awarded as such from completing the app. And the first, what I do basically is a workshop at the moment. I'm doing one on wind farms and energy and sustainability. I'm not going to lie, they do enjoy looking around the base maps, trying to find their house and their granny's house and their best friend's house. And, you know, that can be more interesting to them than the wind farms. But they do, you know, anything that they're doing in it, they're learning how to use it, and they're, you know, using satellite data. So that's kind of, I suppose, the main objective. I do a little competition with them then with this Wayback Imagery app. I don't know if you've used it yourself. And the image you can see there has Portram Beach in 2014 on the right, and in 2025 on the left. So, you know, it's just to show them how they can measure change over time using satellite imagery. So they go into this app anyway, and they have to look around the world and find examples for me, whether it's ice, water, forestry, and yeah, it just hammers home, I suppose, how satellite imagery can be used to measure change in our natural world. And, you know, it ignites a bit of competition in them. There's chocolate for the winner, which is always a bonus as well. So our third workshop then is ArcGIS story maps. And I suppose for me, this is my favorite one, because even the students that had no interest at the start, you know, suddenly perks up when I tell them they can do this on whatever they want. So in TY, they have to produce a portfolio of all the workshops and work experience and projects and stuff that they do throughout the year, and they're interviewed on it at the end of their TY year. So a lot of students, you know, I encourage them to take advantage of this class to start their TY portfolio, which is a great way, you know, for them to showcase their work then at the end of the year. But some students, you know, honestly aren't bothered. So I've had story maps on like Lana Del Rey, Formula One, Messi, lots of Dior, whatever, you name it, they've done it. But it's great because, you know, they're learning how to use it, they're learning how to create their own story map, and they're learning how to, you know, be able to use it for project work in the future. And, you know, it's a really, really good tool for them to be able to operate with. They have these ArcGIS online accounts then for free for the duration of their time in the school that they're in. So, you know, we're hoping now with phase 3, we're applying for that at the moment, that we're going to do more focus workshops then with the TYs when they go on to 5th year in geography, science, climate action and sustainability, whatever STEM subject it is that they're studying. So hopefully they go back to their ArcGIS online accounts. So we also do Geo Mentor training and support. We've, as I said, 9 different companies involved. These have covered 5 different counties, over 500 students. They get 3 CPD hours training in Maynooth or in SCSI. And it's great for somebody's career just to get involved in something, give something back. We do a formally assessed module now with the trainee science teachers in Maynooth. It's a 4-week module. They've all produced great story maps for us. And then we've got to showcase what they've done at the Teaching and Learning Showcase in Maynooth, where we got really, really good feedback on it. We've done lots of teacher workshops and events, in-person training, online with the Institute of Physics and the Space Conference, and then the Hibernian student teacher training as well. So a few other things we're involved with. The Lullymore drone survey has been going now in Maynooth for about 4 years. So we've produced a lovely story map of all that survey detail that is going to be shown in their recreation centre this summer. Done some modules with the English students in Maynooth who were working on a collaborative piece and they wanted to put together as a story map. Gone to schools for Geography Week, and I'm also doing some work with a local heritage group in Wexford at the moment. So in phase 2, the same struggles kind of again. Teachers don't get time in lieu. Geo mentors are great for the training, but then, you know, there's a lot of high turnover, so, you know, you don't always get them in person then. We got the ethics to ask the students, but it takes a lot of time getting the consents back, and it can lead to some issues if a student in the class doesn't have consent. And then also we have so many schools involved, and I'm only one person, can't get to every school, so we have a lot of interest, which is also a bit of an issue at times as well. So these are just some of our numbers here. I won't go into them in too much detail, but I will go to the student questionnaire part. So we do an introduction questionnaire before I show them anything at all. They do an intro questionnaire, and then when they've completed the 3 workshops, they do another questionnaire. So you can see here, this is, I have taken part in a STEM and satellite workshop that I have enjoyed. So the orange is strongly disagree, opinion, and blue is strongly agree. So before 5S, it's kind of no opinion there. And then after 3 visits, you can see it's gone to strongly agree or agree, which is great. The same with this one. I've heard of GIS before, strongly disagree before 5S, and then it flips to the other side once they've done the workshops. But we don't always win them all. This is one, can you think of a career that uses geography? And for both of them, it's geography teacher. So this is where we really feel we need more geo mentors on board to showcase their careers, and not just them hearing about me being a surveyor. But then this is my favorite one. I want to use GIS in a school project. So before the sessions, there's no opinion, and then afterwards they strongly agree. So that's a really positive one for us there. So what's next? So we've a no cost extension at the moment due to a break between myself and my predecessor in work. So that's we have that till the end of this year. And we're hoping to get more industry partners and geo mentors involved. We need to do more work, or I need to do more work on social media and try to get to more counties and more educational events. And then, as I said, we're applying for phase 3 at the moment. It has to be in June, and we're making a few changes. Our geo mentors will only have to commit to 1 workshop instead of 3. And also we're hoping to streamline a workshop for 5th years based on their Leaving Cert STEM subject as well. So yeah, just remains to say thanks to all of our industry partners, and if anyone online would like their company up there, you can get in touch with me. And yeah, if you're interested in 5S, if you'd like your local school, your kid's school, your niece or nephew's school to be involved, you can get in touch, or if you'd like your company involved, that would be great. So, yep, thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. I think it's super duper, really is. It's a great initiative, as I say, and it really it's required, because I mean, if we have falling figures, we really need to try and get as many, interested in a career in
Yeah,
geospatial in some aspect of it, whatever it may
yeah,
be, as possible. As you said, and it is very broad as
yeah,
well. So I suppose sometimes people want to see, what will I be, what will I look like, rather than you could be all of these things. So it is,
yeah.
it's the message. But I like the fact that it's kind of gamified. It's got a few different modules, so it brings it. It shows it's not just one,
Yeah,
and
you're
it's not
bringing them
just
through.
GIS. It's
Yeah, yeah,
broader. Yeah.
and they can, you can see the change in the students from the first workshop to the end of the third. Their interest grows. You're obviously always going to get the one or two students that's still eye rolling you by the third workshop,
Yeah.
but generally you can see them getting interested and kind of amazed by it, to be honest, as they go through the workshops, which is great. So like the interest is there if they know about it.
Yes, I agree. I think it is, if they know about it. I had a TY student working, doing their work placement with me. God love them. But and like that, there was a bit of work on the sort of the women in geospatial, but also from Malin side as well. So really, I got him to kind of go through, we were going through some kind of, applications of GIS, and he did the QGIS, initial QGIS workshop and stuff like that, and he was absolutely loved it. He said, I would
Yeah,
never have known about this. It's amazing, and
yeah.
was a feminist and a GIS enthusiastic by the time he was finished. So that's his
Your
own.
work there was done.
I'm quoting him. But
Yeah,
so definitely the earlier the better, I think,
yeah,
and just to get sort of spark, and particularly things like story maps where you can use them in other projects. They don't, even if you move into a different industry, you can still
yeah.
use them to
Yeah, sure, they're
show.
used in so
Yeah,
many industries,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
also, the schools don't realize that they have this amazing tool in ArcGIS Online for free, that
Yeah.
like all private companies pay a fortune
Oh
for an
yes, I know.
account, and they have this, and if they just need somebody in their staff to be shown, how to add in the students, and then it's so amazing in so many of the STEM subjects that they do in school, to use ArcGIS Online and all the different data layers, makes their class so much more interesting
Oh
for the
yeah.
students as well. Yeah.
It's hands-on as well. There's practical. You're not
Yeah.
just listening about, and
Yeah.
listening to something, and the description. It actually is hands-on, and I think that you can get people to kind of play around with and work with is
Yeah.
great.
Especially at that age. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're so fast,
Yeah.
and they'll probably show you something you never knew
Oh,
existed as
definitely.
well.
Always. Always.
Brilliant. So, yeah, so you're basically phase 3 is
Yeah,
coming on board,
so
and
we're applying for it at the moment.
yeah,
Our application has to be in by the end of June, and if we're successful, we'll know a couple of months later. So hopefully it'll just run back to back with phase 2 and kick off in January. Yeah.
brilliant. And if there's anyone on this webinar, or anyone watching it back at a later stage, that is interested in being a geo mentor, or an organization that's interested in being
Yeah.
Participating, please give Helen a shout. And as I say, the information will be on your slide anyway, probably one of the slides there, Helen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think you're correct in terms of, a career in geospatial. At some stage, everyone needs to give a little bit back, whether it's you know speaking to schools, speaking at third level, or something like
Yeah.
this initiative. So yeah, hopefully you'll have some new sign-ups, Helen,
Hopefully. Yeah. That's the
to give
aim.
you a hand to spread the word.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to everyone that's on the call today, and to Audrey and Helen in particular. I think that was, so both presentations were very in sync, and just shows that we really, to sustain the skill sets coming on board, and the availability of skills, and reduce the skills gap, etc. I suppose it's really important that that we have highlight the work that both of you do, and that we can continue to everyone can continue to be involved in it, whether it's micro-credentials or whether it's 5-star S program and the outreach. So thank you very much, and I think we can call it a day today, and the video will be available over the next few days or next week. Thank you very much. See
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, Marion.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.